an organization where they get a lot of their product out of China, and they get invoiced and they wire the money. So an invoice came in via their email, immediately got text. The text said, "Oh, we sent you the wrong invoice. Here's a link." They even pushed back the person and said, "Oh, can I get it in an email?" They sent it spoofed. So now it came through the email. They paid it. It was for about $100,000 US. And lo and behold, oops.
So professionally adjacent, because I am my family's IT person, like most people in this room, I'm sure. My brother's a pharmacy owner. And so one of his employees received a text from the manager of the store because somebody had pulled her name. And then they texted the employee and they said, "Hey, you know what? It's me. We need to get this thing done. Can you please accept this thing?" And she said, "Well, that's not your number." And she said, "Oh, I have a new phone." And then something supposedly came in on a Sunday from the head office of the franchise saying, "You need to pay this invoice immediately or else you lose part of this license."
Kat, what you were mentioning, I find the most, I'm going to say alarming, because somehow they know this person's on vacation. This person is in a meeting until 4 o'clock. That's a pretty specific thing, right? And odds are they're not learning that, they're not guessing that. They're not like the psychic who's going to tell me when I win the lottery or whatever, right? They're not getting it through technical controls. So, little sidestep, anybody want to speculate, in your opinion, how they would learn that information?
Social media, clearly. Because it was this big thing for people to go online, and people are still doing it on Instagram, but they would be like, "Oh, my daughter's at this soccer game, blah." And then people would call and say, "I know your wife, I met her at our daughter's soccer game, they're on the same team," and that would be the in to get it. They said, "I should call you because of this reason." So there's still too much of a footprint and there's too much of a cookie crumb trail on social media.
Many executives will say that I work with, they're not taking the security aspect of it seriously enough because they think at that level, too much going on. It's the do as I say, not as I do mentality, unfortunately. And not only does it provide for a bad example for everybody, but it opens the door to pretty much everything we're talking about here.
So anytime you're pushing a policy, they're not going to comply because this is not generating revenue for them. This is an extra added step that you're adding to their plate, right? So this, in theory, is really no benefit to me. So why do I need to go out of my way to comply with that? So we did a lot of trial and error, and there was a lot of back and work. And what really worked for us was clear, concise, and targeted training that we created.
Danced. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for showing up at a 3 in the afternoon session. This session is titled Executive Smishing, Focusing on the Highest Value Human Target, which my opening statement, we'll start with that, and then one question to you, and then we'll introduce everybody. So we spend a lot of time talking about phishing in cyber, of course, but today we're getting something a little more adjacent. The relative of phishing is smishing, which is the SMS thing, which I suspect we've all seen. But this isn't about tactics or tools. It's about why mature programs still get surprised. Even when controls behave exactly as designed and processes within organizations, we're still getting caught by these. So the question before we introduce is quick show of hands. Who has seen smishing in their personal life or work life? I'm going to say if somebody has their hand down, they're lying, I think. Or have been smished and didn't realize it. Yes. So I'm Kevin Dreyer, IT Director and CISO at Maple Reinders Construction, a mid-sized general contractor with operations across Canada. And I get the pleasure of moderating with...
I'm Kat Coode. I'm a data privacy strategist consultant. I run my own company called Binary Tattoo.
Todd Rossin, CEO and Chief Strategy Officer for Tech Democracy, an identity and access management and cybersecurity professional services firm.
I'm Amira Masood, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer with the UPS Store Canada. When we say UPS Store Canada, I'd like for us to understand that we are very unique from other franchise models out there. We are independently owned and operated. So currently we operate about 400 plus stores, and we are growing yearly. And our stores are scattered across Canada.
Thank you. Okay, so first question, and very specifically for all of us actually, without naming names, we don't want this coming back. It's what did we call it? Chicago rules or whatever? Chatham House rules. Yeah, there we go. I'm good at this, eh? Chatham House rules, but still safer to not name names. Have you seen a text message initiate or meaningfully contribute to a security incident? Anyone?
Yes.
Yes? I want more than that, and you know it. Sorry, my kid actually broke through my do not disturb. I was confused. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick, unless you guys don't want it to be too quick. But an organization where they get a lot of their product out of China, and they get invoicing, they wire the money. So an invoice came in via their email, immediately got text. The text said, "Oh, we sent you the wrong invoice. Here's a link." They even pushed back the person and said, "Oh, can I get it in an email?" They sent it spoofed. So now it came through the email. They paid it. It was for about $100,000 US. And lo and behold, oops, that wasn't them. And now the company that was based in China, rightfully so, said, "Well, where's our money?" But then, well, in our particular case, it ended up being an expert witness thing that we got called in regards to. But there was nefarious intention.
Very real. Amira, Kat, have you got any samples you can share?
I'd love to say we haven't seen any, but the reality is, smishing is just growing. It's evolving on the daily, right? Like when you're onto an attack or a type of smishing, they're so smart that they've already mastered that, and they're onto a next more advanced attack, right? So we see it all the time. Like I can't, unfortunately, from a confidentiality point of view, I can't really share much, but we see text messages coming in all the time, asking to reroute packages to different addresses. We see smishing attempts to impersonate customers, and not just customers, but internal UPS staff, right? That would appear as genuine, but in reality is they're not, right? So we need to be more obviously vigilant. We need to have more advanced, not just training mechanisms, advanced protocols, but whatever may work for each, different corporation or organization. Everybody's unique. In our situation, because we are independently owned and operated, we have a very fine line on what we can push down and what we cannot. So you have to really customize and tailor it to your audiences and really push out what really works.
It's a challenge for sure. Kat?
So professionally adjacent, because I am my family's IT person, like most people in this room, I'm sure. My brother's a pharmacy owner. And so one of his employees received a text from the manager of the store because somebody had pulled her name. And then they texted the employee and they said, "Hey, you know what? It's me. We need to get this thing done. Can you please accept this thing?" And she said, "Well, that's not your number." And she said, "Oh, I have a new phone." And then something supposedly came in on a Sunday from the head office of the franchise saying, "You need to pay this invoice immediately or else you lose part of this license." And so she grabbed a bunch of Apple gift cards and then cashed them all in to pay the large business franchise for an invoice on a Sunday. I did invite my brother's employee to the session. She's not here. But yes, so that was a real life, not tech firm smishing.
And it happens all the time.
All the time.
Right. So I will share, and the timing of it was fascinating. Not specifically a malicious smish sample, but it occurred to me as it was happening because I was messaging with our CFO for gift cards at work. And he texted me back and said, "Go ask so-and-so, she should be able to give you $2,000 worth of gift cards." And I innocently showed the text message and was handed $2,000 worth of gift cards. And I went, there's something missing in the validation of this. I could have faked that. I mean, it was me in person. I would be forfeiting my job for $2,000, which would be really, really stupid. But still, it was like, oh, wow, it's that easy, right? It looks like it came from the CFO. Here's your gift cards. And if that gift card process isn't properly audited, probably could rinse and repeat.
Kevin, I'd like to add to that. You know, it's funny you bring the gift card scenario up. We get our stores receiving text messages pretending to be our CEO or the president. Your CEO is never going to ask you for money, right? So, I mean, we have fallen victim. It happens all the time. So you have to make sure that awareness is up at the top. There is one way too many examples out there.
I was going to say, even I think almost everybody that's worked for me at some point has gotten a SMS from me.
Right.
Yeah, saying the same thing. I need you to get me some. I'm running into a meeting. And
Yeah.
they write me and say, "Is this you?" And I go, "Oh yeah, send me your credit card number and your social security number, please."
Yeah,
That's my standard response.
that's awesome. Shoot. Oh yeah, I was having a conversation earlier with somebody, and Amira, you touched on it, that there's no one-shot answer for every organization, right? So in that individual's organization, they are able to say at a blanket level, we will never transact business over a messaging platform. In my environment, there is business transactions agreed to over text, right? And it's not binding, but it happens, and it's just the way the business works. It's construction. Do you need me to pick up 2 things or 3 things of drywall so we can finish that job today? Grab 3, right? So we cannot blanket state you're not allowed to use text, but nobody's going to ask for gift cards. So where in the smishing to breach chain do you actually see things in your environment? I suspect we all pretty much have the same answer, but anybody want to jump on that first?
Sure. I was just trying to be, to let anybody jump in. I mean, for us, a lot of the times where it begins in our organization is our sales employees, guys who are on the road, less so the folks that are in the office for us. Some of our customers, though, it's very often targeted at the accounting and financial side of things.
Okay.
The ones I've seen the most of are actually executive assistants, typically.
Hitting the executive
Yeah, hitting
assistant.
the executive assistants, knowing where executives are in meetings at conferences, coming in with a text and saying, so-and-so is like, Steve is in a meeting and I know he's at this conference all day. And so he asked me to send you this text and he'll be at 4. So if you can just send your approval now, and then it'll come through that way.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, for us, it's very different because we don't have a corporate body that really controls the transactions that happen at the store level, right? So it's the store level getting text messages pretending or impersonating to be another customer, trying to bypass those transactions. It has happened in the past, and some have, although gone through, other may not have succeeded, right? So it happens all the time, yeah.
That's difficult. Kat, what you were mentioning, I find the most, I'm going to say alarming, because somehow they know this person's on vacation. This person is in a meeting until 4:00. That's a pretty specific thing, right? And odds are they're not learning that. They're not guessing that. They're not like the psychic who's going to tell me when I win the lottery or whatever, right? They're not getting it through technical controls. So, little sidestep. Anybody want to speculate, in your opinion, how they would learn that information?
Social media, clearly.
Yeah,
So
there's one.
interestingly enough, when I first started talking about this about a decade ago, a lot of it was mommy blogs because they were really popular 10 years ago. I used to be a tech writer for one, because it was this big thing for people to go online. And I mean, people are still doing it on Instagram, but they would be like, my daughter's at this soccer game, blah, blah, blah. And then people would call and say, I know your wife. I met her at our daughter's soccer game. They're on the same team. And that would be the in to get it. They said I should call you because of this reason. So there's still too much of a footprint and there's too much of a cookie crumb trail on social media with how many people here have posted this conference. Like I know the 4 of us have a bunch of posts that say that we are currently sitting at this conference. So A lot of people are still continuing to post like I'm taking a break over Christmas. I mean, we've all seen those LinkedIn posts. This 4 things I learned by sitting on the beach in Mexico, and there's the picture, and I was like, I'm taking another week off. It's like, great, now I know where you are, and I know when you'll be back.
Yeah. Any other?
I would say, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
For anything
social
that's
media.
happening at the corporate level, these bad actors are so smart that they've done all of your research inside out before they're attempting to proceed with that. And some of the attacks that we have seen on the internal level, using my credentials, using my identity, you can't get that unless you've already done your homework on me.
The recon.
So I try my best to limit what I do post and do not post. I avoid where I can, but unfortunately, you can only avoid so much.
It's difficult. I had a call with the CRA this week, and the number of things they asked to validate that I'm me, and I'm like, okay, pause. You called me. Yeah, but you can see the number. I'm like, yeah, but you can fake the number. How do I validate you before I let you validate me? And this is the world we're in, and it's candidly terrible. And I don't have a solution to that, but.
Oh, I did. I had that with CRA.
Right.
And they're like, give me the last 4 numbers of your social insurance. And I'm like, you give me the first 4 numbers of my social insurance. And it works. It worked, and we were all good.
Person I talked to refused. I cannot give you any information. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll call and go on hold. Right. But, and you have to be willing to take those extra steps, whatever it is. Right. Okay. How does executive behavior complicate detection or response in these scenarios? I love the chuckles. We're all thinking the same thing.
I feel like I shouldn't answer that one.
Incriminate yourself?
Exactly.
Somebody's got to have an answer for that one.
Look, I can tell you from many executives, we'll say that I work with, they're not taking the security aspect of it seriously enough because they think at that level, too much going on. It's the do as I say, not as I do mentality, unfortunately. And not only does it provide for a bad example for everybody, but it opens the door to pretty much everything we're talking about here, every malicious actor, but even mistakes, just basic mistakes. Because, oh, well, he did it. Why don't I do it? What's the big to do?
I find we tend to heavily regulate junior employees and not the executives. The executives are the ones, like I worked at BlackBerry for a long time, and the executives were the ones who could use their own devices for their own purposes. But then we had software to manage the BlackBerrys for every other junior employee because God forbid they be trusted to handle corporate data. So it was always the executives wanted to be able to have things like WhatsApp while running other things, right? So before some of the Android devices are partitioned, but on most of the iPhones, you're running multiple things with multiple certificates. And it tends to be the executives who kind of feel like they're above that because they should be able to run more software on their device. And that's where some of it's coming into.
They're special.
and I'd like to add to that, communication disconnect, right? That's the biggest challenge. You need to make sure that you start any sort of strategic or targeted training from above. Don't start it from bottom up. And I think that's very critical. A lot of executives think they know it all, but unfortunately they miss the criticality of it. And that's where the problem really starts, from what I've seen.
Yeah. I would add what I've seen further to the exceptions, right? There are exceptions. And in many organizations, the IT security people aren't equipped and empowered is the right word, to invoke consequences for bad behavior, right? Without naming names, we had a senior employee at my work that I learned was getting an assistant to do their security awareness training.
Yep.
And we all go, oh. There was disciplinary action for that, right? It's alarmingly commonplace, right? And I found out, therefore there was a consequence. Does that mean 10 others are doing it, but I didn't find out? I don't know, right? But my joke years ago was you catch one person searching inappropriate content, you reprimand them for it, and they tell their buddies, don't do it, somebody will catch you, right? But yeah, it's that exception problem that I think is huge. But anybody want to comment on how many environments are not allowed to have a consequence for that? I know UPS wouldn't be allowed to have a consequence for that.
Yeah, that's where we stand apart, right? Like we have a very small footprint of what we do control. I probably shouldn't say this out, but there are limitations to what we control and what we do not control at the 400 plus centers. So that really puts us in the back front of what we can mandate and what we cannot. But that's changing, and I cannot wait.
With great excitement.
Exactly, cannot wait.
Any other additions to that? No. Or
Well, policy should be enforced, but policy should be led at the top. It doesn't mean it's going to keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you're right. That's the headache of it, is that there's always going to be that favoritism. Or, somebody in the organization makes that mistake and then, we like them. We like them.
Who hasn't seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, what control did you expect to help in the smishing scenarios that didn't?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So, from the early on, we knew that tooling wasn't going to help our situation. It wasn't going to cut the problem. We are given the business mindset of, independent operation, right? Mindset. These folks are very transactional and speed-based, rather corporate procedural-based, right? So anytime you're pushing a policy, they're not going to comply, because this is not generating revenue for them. This is an extra added step that you're adding to their plate, right? So this, in theory, is really no benefit to me. So why do I need to go out of my way to, comply with that? So we did a lot of trial and error, and there was a lot of back end work. And what really worked for us was clear, concise, and targeted training that we created. And we almost sort of created this training content in Netflix type series, which is very unique. I know a lot of organizations though they have the awareness program, but this is very unique that we created. We almost created, we personalized it to what the experience at the store level, so that it could resonate with them. And we always left them with the message, and there was always something to look forward to in the next series when the one clip ended, right? And we saw tremendous success, and I think we're doing great at it. And I would really like to see organizations adapt that sort of approach, because, for us, we knew tooling wasn't going to cut it, and it's not gonna help us. And I don't see ever, it working for us in theory like it would for most organizations, mainly because we have a very small footprint of what we do manage and what we do not, right? So we had to make something more personalized and sort of measure through the metrics.
And loves it personalized.
On sort of an addition and a little bit, unfortunately, of a counterpoint in a sense, being that where I've seen a lot of breakdown is the training, meaning what do? We've got compliance, so we do a yearly training. Or, usually yearly training. Why? We have to check the box. The trainings, in a lot of cases, tend to be insufficient, so it's great to hear of a good training. But what I tend to find is, even with that, there's still a big audience out there that's just getting it out of the way. It's fire and forget. I finished it, I'm done, I got my certificate, I forwarded it on. I think a consistent pen test type model, where somebody's trying to trick you, like what you did, even though yours was legitimate, you should have broadcasted, like, this is a mistake. And we need to, without naming names of folks in the order, broadcast those mistakes, have these processes. So, hey, we ran it, and guess what? We had a 12% failure rate. And we ran it again in a couple of months. We had an 8% failure rate, and you can see the results as they go down. Because realistically, as stated, no tool is going to do it, but even the training can only get us so far. And all we need is one oops to happen to have us in the newspaper. And, well, oh my gosh, I just dated myself. Okay, to have us online. Yeah, to have us online and have us in the news. And that's what we're trying to avoid at the end of the day, in addition to... We don't want the brand damage, and that's where a lot of the orgs. I like to call it, there's two forms of ROI, right? Your company wants return on investment. Return on investment. In the security space, we like to call it risk of incarceration, right? That's the other ROI. It's the risk piece that we're trying to avoid. You owe me $1 US if you use that. Sorry, from Philly.
Love it. Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, well, the security training rate, like your stats awesome because it's customized. I think a lot of and I will not name names because there's a lot of really great off-the-shelf product out there, but I think a lot of the bigger companies that are buying these videos that you just play, no one's watching them. People are doing things in the background and they're just coming and like answering the quiz questions at the end. I find live security training does much better because people actually have to come and attend even if they're on some kind of Zoom. I know I've been doing security training for a long time and I always make it about people. So I don't come and like, here's how to keep your company safe. It's here's how to keep you and your family safe. And here's what your data is going to be stolen. And here's how that's going to be breached because people care about themselves. Like ultimately, so whatever security training you're delivering, if you can target how to keep people safe, then that transfers to the company. But actually saying, hey, you need to not set this password. It's like, I've got 100 passwords. Like, why am I am going to set that to the same thing that I have because I have 100 of them and you're not giving me a better way to manage it. But if you tell them why it's going to affect them personally and do damage to them personally, then that seems to resonate a lot better.
And I think one of the things that has really helped with that is we've become so frequent with that training program that we have that we also started running quarterly or monthly campaigns to really test their knowledge without obviously letting them know, right? So we'll slide in through email or, through whatnot forum that we can, get in touch with them, right? Just to see, do they pass the test? Do they fail the test, right? And then that's where we know what the success and failure ratio is. I think it's really, it's done wonders for us.
So taking a bit of a side journey from that on the training front, the training and testing I see as two different things. I heard as bad as, sorry if it's wrong, as bad as once a year. I don't think you're suggesting that's the correct cadence. And then how often do you say for training?
We do it quarterly.
Quarterly.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious, what is different opinions on the correct cadence for a video or some in-person training, that type of thing?
Well, first of all, you need to just don't make any boring content, right? For us, because no one's going to watch it, right? They'll probably put it on and walk away, right? So what really worked for us, we had to really personalize to the situations or daily routine that they go through, they live through at the store level, right? And we had to sort of put them in a video content, a small short clip. Hey, this is what you do and this is how you can be a victim, right? This is what you need to avoid. And we try to keep those videos small, relatively, 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay.
And then we obviously customize it to our brand.
Still want to hear more about that after the session. I love it.
I can tell you to go to that point because I think that's really brilliant is the entertainment value. As a kid, I had this thing, maybe you guys have seen Schoolhouse Rock. Taught me what a noun is. Taught me what a bill is. Taught me what a conjunction is. Conjunction, junction, what's your function, right? All of these things. So the entertainment value does help on that because otherwise training alone, it's for you had the groups that came in when you're in high school and they get on stage and everybody laughed because there was nothing, it was a boring thing. Don't do drugs, kid, kind of thing. And you're like, what's it really teaching me? But to another point you had made, which was that people were using these admin assistants too. This is why we have to do that constant testing against people model, the social hacking sort of white hat hacker type model to make sure people are fulfilling it because guess what? These days, everything, AI. I'm sure nobody heard that today, AI. So they're taking the tests for you. There's an NHI exam from an organization that I'm not going to name. And out of curiosity, for the certification exam was online. I just plugged it into AI. I wanted to see what happened. Boom, 40 questions answered. Did them for me. For certification. I said, this is horrible. This is exactly what it's not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, our tests that we run, it's as simple as the AI can go answer it, so I don't even have to watch the videos and do the training. And wow, it got done in 3 minutes. So that's part of the problem too, and why you constantly have to test people. And when I test them, I mean, send them these things, see if you can get them to fall off and do it incorrectly, and then publicize. Just without.
I'm currently working on a program which will more like a trivia type questionnaire. There'll be a question or two that'll go out on a weekly basis to the stores. We're still deciding how it's going to be in the back front. It'll pretty much test their knowledge. So when you do it so frequently, it really keeps their mind fresh. I'll talk to me offline in a couple months and ask me how it was. I'm really excited, and I think that's going to bring a lot of things to surface that we may miss, right? So I really like to hope that these store owners are the one, in fact, doing the trainings and not getting their staff to do it. Everyone should at the store be doing it. We'll find out.
Ideally, yeah.
It'll
I
be
guess the
interesting.
results of that inform what you want to build next.
Yeah.
So, Kat, you mentioned in person. I'm trying to remember why I wanted to hit on that. Because, and won't ask for raise of hands, but I will confess, not for IT security stuff. I actually do, even though I feel like it's probably kind of stupid and I'll get it. But I've had other trainings at work that I go, yeah, but I really have work to do. That I've had it listen, and I've asked AI to answer the questions so that I could check the box. Gasp. In-person training prevents that. How often can you do effective in-person training?
Not very, but I think it sticks with you longer. But I mean, if you're doing that annually or even, I don't know, semi-bi, which was it, biannually, semi-annually, whichever that is.
Twice a year?
Yeah, twice a year.
I go with the safe wording.
Whatever that one is. Yeah, but then if you're combining, like I think there's like a combination of things, and then you're doing monthly or every other month you're doing some like, hey, today we're talking about passwords, and and we're talking this month we're talking about access, and this month we're talking about smishing, and like so then at least you've got something of interest. You're not running this whole thing. Right. I know one of the companies I worked for that is a big company that has a big budget hired the guy who did the Catch Me If You Can guy, like the big fraud guy. Yeah. Oh my God, did everyone take away from that, right? Like that was engaging and it was all fraud. And then everyone took that back and applied it back to how could someone phish me in that same kind of way.
I think I know what company that was, but we won't digress. Cool to hear that you're the one who helped arrange that, though.
I paid for it.
Yeah, no, that would have been pricey. So after seeing something like this, what did you or your organization change, even if only slightly, and this is the most important part, that actually helped?
I'll go first. So we had this training program, targeted training, active communication, all that is great. How are we going to push this down to 400 stores, right? That wasn't going to be possible. So we have a team called regional managers who manage pockets within their area. So what we did was we first brought them in and trained them and tested them and made sure that they were fully 100% on par with what was being pushed down to the stores. And we went that route. And we also started publishing on a weekly basis. We have a weekend communication that goes out every Friday. We started publishing any update that goes in there. Anytime there is anything new that's coming our way, we start sending it out until we see a click rate and we know that it's being read. So I think it's been very successful for us.
Anyone else?
The most successful thing I've seen is the shift with you can celebrate people who report things instead of punishing people who miss them. So every time you have you got caught by this phishing campaign and now you need to do the training all over again, it's just disheartening and it upsets people. But if you have please report this, and every time you report it, you get a point or you could win a prize, then people feel really good about it. Oops, you missed this one, maybe next time. Definitely, obviously, we all know the sooner you report an issue, the better.
Faster you can
So we want that celebration of, hey, everyone, we had an incident, but because so-and-so reported it immediately, we were able to mitigate it and get to it. Like, please be that person.
You would broadcast that out?
Yeah.
So the whole world knows Bob was genius.
Because everybody can be taken by these scams.
Actually, I just want to add to that point there. I do volunteer work for a nonprofit board, and I actually built up the security program. And the first thing I did is I said, and there's a lot of elderly volunteers. We had two people that actually tried to put in their credit card information 7 times because it went out 3 days. But it got to the point where, like you said, they got a fish, and the whole office, hey, there's a phishing email. And I wrote the admin card and say, you want to stop that? I said, no, don't stop that. I want them to be able to express and let people know, because you want them to actually start talking about it. You want them to say,
that's key.
Here's a phishing email. So they're looking for it. And they'll actually go in there and look at it. I said, it's okay to let them know. that's one way those, and you should see the rate drop from 46% down to
Because everybody's talking about it.
because everybody's talking about it. Well, just as an extension of that, I think building a boat, acknowledging some of the failures. That's a very important thing. We're all human, we make mistakes. And some of these phishing attempts are so good. And just acknowledging that you did this, you double checked. Yeah, so sure, you did a good step, but here's what you can do in the future. And making it more of a safe space and acknowledging that we will make mistakes and not to hide them. I think that's exactly what you did. We want to make sure that it's okay to raise and say, we all make mistakes. Here are opportunities. We're all responsible for this together. Obviously, you got to take a measured approach if somebody's doing something very ignorant. But in most cases, I don't think that's a scenario, especially with AI right now being targeting and the increase in volume that we should be expecting in the coming years due to the automation, the dropping costs of having customized high volumes of phishing attempts. Like it's inevitable that people are going to be caught. It's matter, so we respond to encourage them to continue to realize that there's still something that they can do.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. I was going to say, and there's been a thread of it, right? The in-person presentations, the making it personal and relatable. As the head of cyber for my organization, I have admitted that I have fallen for one of our simulated attacks, right? I 2 turkeys in my hand or whatever. Somebody texted me something stupid that I was offended by. I was all razzled because I'm in a grocery store and I can't believe this just came up. And then there was something about a UPS or Amazon shipment, and I clicked it and I went, right? But we need to be that vulnerable to let them know, like, you're not stupid because you fell for it. You fell for it because the timing was wrong. But I do the in-person and I make it relatable. So they still talk about it as recently as 2 weeks ago. Last week, one of the offices, I started my presentation with me physically breaking in and bypassing the alarm to their office to explain how we sometimes feel like we got the security dialed in, but even we get it wrong. And then I tied it to the systems. And like I said, it's 11 and a half months later, they still talk about it, right? I'm like, okay, that really hit them apparently. I think we got about 5 minutes left. There you go. We had some questions. Are there more questions from the audience though? It's gotta be some. Yeah.
But it comes to testing for smishing.
Yeah.
How effective would you think that is?
Anybody else want to jump on this?
What you mean from a tool-based perspective, or the tools are a little trickier. Although from an AI perspective, you can automate it and go to a much larger audience now, because that's what they're doing. We all have day jobs and this is all that they do. But from a technology point of view, where you're going to see a big change that's going to enhance it is we say we can't go after everybody within the organization. We can't do this. You're going to be able to. I mean, when you think about it, you do your prompts right. Don't mind that thing just came off. I can put it back on. They're getting, or if we do our prompts correctly, and it's all going to be bundled into tools anyways, you'll start to be able to hit that mass audience, is what I was stating, and you're going to now be able to really truly test at a much larger scale, and continuous testing model. So from that perspective, that's where AI is going to actually help us. It's basically going to be sort of an AI versus AI in that respect. So you're going to see a big difference there. Versus now, look, I can only target so many people in an audience. We're people and we've got some cool tools, but there's only so far we can go with it. But those days are over.
One of the reasons we were talking about smishing and not phishing was because you've got WhatsApp. You could have LinkedIn DMs. You could have, this is not Slack and Teams. These are not tools that are corporate tools that we can control. And that's ultimately the problem. So unless someone knows better, I don't think there is tooling out there that can actually monitor and control people's, and you wouldn't want them to. People don't want you with their personal texts and their whatever messaging.
It's going to come down to education for sure. Amir, did you have something to add on that question?
No, I agree with both Todd and Kat on that. Everyone has fallen a victim at some point. My sister recently, it's so funny, just last month, she received a text message on her WhatsApp from somebody that she knew. She clicks on the link and boom, her WhatsApp is hacked, right? So privacy is a concern. That's something that obviously you cannot overstep on. But yeah, some of the tools you need, but there's a line that you have to draw, right? What you can and what you cannot do.
I see 2 more questions in the audience, so I won't add to that. But if you have, I got something I can add later. Management.
I think one of the things you have to look at is within your own network, how you protect against it in terms of access, right? With a lot of executives I dealt with, I'd like to remove access to sensitive information because they don't check. They don't check when they're clicking on something. They're expecting that. Do you remove access to the crown jewels all the time? You don't.
No.
You have enough people there in your chain of command to say, give me this report, give me this.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the ways that you can actually protect your organization from that aspect.
Well, but while there's least privilege, even the people who have that privilege still mess it up. That's part of the problem. You may have a smaller audience, but that smaller audience, the original example I gave, the person in charge of paying this who got the instantaneous, text message and then an exact duplicate of their invoice. So they paid it. They didn't realize it was spoofed at that point. Yeah.
Trust me, I know that because I have doctor friends who have had gift cards mailed on their behalf. And they pick up the phone and say, hey. And
It happens.
These are people that you think.
There's one more in the back. Yep.
Yeah, so all great points here. But what I'm seeing here across the board is we are being very reactive as people rather than being proactive. I would love to know, are we thinking in terms of criminology and see where these bad actors are going to go next? Or are we just following their examples and being reactive to that and only developing tools that only cater to what they have already proven as their methods, or at least across the board? That's my question.
It's a great question.
I think it's still very difficult to know that. I mean, again, we've got day jobs. And our day job may not be to constantly think what the malicious actors are versus, and we're still going to miss things. Remember when everybody moved to the cloud and said, okay, we're going to be preventative, we're going to make sure things aren't intact. And then there was one big giant DNS hit that nobody expected. Yeah. And everything went down. They're like, how did we not see that coming? It's part of the problem. There are times you could be preventative in addition to detective. Detective, obviously, after the fact, we want to avoid that. Our goal is to be as preventative as possible, but the only way to do that, again, is you still got to test people. There's in smishing specifically. This doesn't apply to everything, but for smishing and phishing, it's test.
And I think part of the problem is that these bad actors are so advanced in the new ways that they're coming to smish, phish, whatever it be, right? That by the time you've really caught on what they are at, they're onto something new, right? So you're never going to be ahead of the game. That's always going to be a problem. No matter what advanced tooling, what advanced training you have, that's always going to be a problem. That's how I look at it.
So I know I have a mic and I technically don't need to put my hand up, but a visual gesture for the crowd. We're past time. So a lot of great questions, a lot of great conversation, and I'm not going to volunteer my fellow panelists, but they need the room. So whoever had questions, we can take them up outside. I'm loving the dialogue. And if any of them wants to stay afterward, we can keep going on it. It is a fun topic and a lot of challenges in it. But thank you, and maybe see you in the hall.